Hello friends and welcome to Finance Logic YouTube channel. My name is Evgeny, and in this video I would like to discuss with you probabilities. I would like to show you how you can use probabilities in your real life to make some business decisions. You don't have to be a super smart person in theory of probabilities or something similar. You just need to have a logic in order to understand what I'm going to show you. So let's start. At first, it's very important to understand what probability is. Let's make a definition. Probability is some number between 0 and 1 inclusively that provides us information about the likelihood of some event to happen. So it is some number from 0 to 1 or from 0 to 100% if we would like to measure it in percentage, that we can use in order to understand whether some event is probable, possible or remote. And the very important question is to understand where to find probabilities, where we can get these numbers. Basically, there are three main sources of probabilities, or there are three types of probabilities depending on their sources, depending on their origins. The first one is a priori. It means that the probability is obvious. For example, if we drop a coin, we know that probability of tail is 50% or 0.5, and probability of head is the same, it is 0.5. We don't need to make experiment because it's quite obvious that a standard coin has two sides and probability of have one side as a result of our drop is 50%. And please don't be confused here, because the probability here is 50%, and it is not because we have only two possible results. It is because the coin is flat and both sides are equal. A second source of probability is empirical probability. Empirical probability comes from past experience, from some past events. For example, we can state about probability of increase in the sales of our product before New Year based on what we have observed in the past. And the third type of probability is subjective. Subjective probability we use when we don't have any past events, we don't have something similar in the past. We just make a judgment because we deal with something new. For example, we develop a new product and we can define some probability that a new product could be successful, could be profitable. And source of probability defines how confident we can be in our numbers. For example, I'm super confident that probability of having tail or head as a result of dropping a coin is 50% because it's obvious. But I'm not 100% confident that new product will earn profit because I don't have any kind of past experience in that area. As a result, what we have here? We have here a very strong relationship between source and degree of confidence. Or we can say that source defines degree of reliability and verifiability of our numbers. Unfortunately, the lowest degree of reliability and verifiability is related to subjective probabilities, because they are just on someone's opinion and they are more subjective and they are more uncertain comparing to, for example, empirical probability, which reliability and verifiability could be assessed as moderate. And a priori probabilities, they have the highest degree of reliability and verifiability. We are absolutely sure with them, and we cannot say the same about subjective probabilities. And unfortunately, in our life, the most part of probabilities that we deal with, at least in the business, are empirical and subjective. So if we have some past experience, of course, we need to use empirical source, empirical data to define probabilities. If we deal with something new, our probabilities are very, very subjective. It means that we have a very low degree of confidence in our numbers. And as a result, we may have a very low degree of confidence in the numbers which we get based on probabilities. Now let's continue with such parameter of expected value that is very helpful in business decisions. Expected value, it is weighted average number of our result depending on probabilities that we define. For example, we have three different scenarios of our sales and we have relevant probabilities. And some of these probabilities is 100% because if we deal with all exhaustive events, sum of probabilities of these events is always 100%. It is the same like probability to have head or tail when we drop a coin is 100%. It's obvious. So we have, for example, three forecasts and three scenarios of our sales. And we define three probabilities. We define probability of each scenario. What we need to do in order to estimate expected value? We just multiply each number of sales by relevant probability and then we sum all results that we have. And the sum is expected value. Expected value, it is not the sales number that we expect. It is not the sales number that will happen. But it is a very theoretical thing, but it could be very, very useful to make business decisions. Now let's go to the most interesting part. Let's go to the illustration. Illustration is very useful. You don't need to have any specific knowledge to understand the main idea. Assume that John is an entrepreneur and he is planning to open a summer restaurant, but before the start of the season he can rent a space of either 300 or 100 square meters under a non-cancelable lease. It means that before business season starts, John needs to decide which area to select. There is a 60% probability that demand for the restaurant services will be high. Obviously that it means that there is a 40% probability, 100 minus 60, that demand will be low or not high. Below are the profit forecasts for the each option in $1,000. If John rents 300 meters and demand is high, he could earn $300,000. But if demand is low, he could suffer from loss of 600. Loss is because the rent payment for big area is high and rent is a sunk cost. It is not avoidable. But if the demand is low, the rent is not paid back by margin that could be earned from providing restaurant services. If John rents 100 meters, he can earn 500 or 300 depending on the demand. So it's very important to understand that John does not control the demand. John has a control over which area to rent. And we need to answer what area to choose. What area should be rented before season starts. Actually, there is no right answer for any person. I mean that the answer depends on John's personal character. For example, if John is a risk taker, he should choose to rent 300 meters because he bets for opportunity to earn the highest possible profit. The highest possible profit is 1,000, and there is only one way to earn 1,000, to rent 300 meters. Of course, it's not free. John accepts the risk of having loss of 600. So, if John is risk taker, he should rent 300 meters. If John is risk averse person has some bad experience in the past or has some special circumstances, a risk averse person always tries to avoid the worst possible outcomes. In order to avoid the worst possible outcome, John needs to rent 100 meters because renting 100 meters allows to avoid loss of 600. But these two decisions are very biased. They don't take into account of probabilities to earn, for example, 1000 or to get loss of 600. Smart person, of course, should consider probabilities of demand. And we know that probability of high demand is 60%. We don't know where we get it. It could be some market research, or it could be past experience of our hero. So we have 60% probability that demand is high and 40% probability that demand is low. We have only two possible options for simplicity of our example. And in order to make the most rational decision, we should use expected values. So we need to estimate expected profit from renting a big area and expected profit from renting small area. If John rents 300 square meters, expected profit is 360. It is weighted average of possible results. Pay attention that 600 is loss, so we subtract the result of multiplying it by 40%. The same number of renting 100 meters is 420. And 420 is more than 360. It means that if John is smart enough and if John wants to make a most rational decision, he should choose renting 100 meters. So this is how we can use expected values in our real life. Of course, in real life, John could use his intuition, and most of successful entrepreneurs, they make decisions based on their intuitions, but intuitions are from their past experience. And estimation of expected values allow us to quantify our intuition and to be sure that we make decision based on what we believe. If we believe that probability of high demand is 60%, the smartest decision is to rent 100 meters. I hope this video is useful. Write in the comments whether you have any questions. I wish you all the best and use probabilities to make right decision in your business.